the Canadian Madness is over, uh, and it was madness not worth repeating. The whale team was fun, and I think that ended up being kind of my end result. Sometimes you walk into a tournament not in the mind space to win, like a Worlds or a Nationals, and you just kind of step aside and go, "I'm just gonna play this thing, and if it works, whatever." So that said, I didn't do well, and I kind of turned around and said, "It's maybe time to start tightening up the game." And maybe take Worlds a little more seriously. Now, the reason I gotta take Worlds a little bit more seriously, sorry for messing up with the camera there, guys, is that my financial investment in this is significantly more than any tournament I've had the pleasure of going to. So I have to kind of look at this and go, if I don't play my butt off, I am literally wasting money. But playing my butt off means I still, to a certain degree, have to feel like I played well. So, with that, we start the adventures in identifying where we're going to go for our competitive team. I'm still not yet focused on a single team. And the reason for that is acquirement. I have yet to acquire all of the X-Men Regenesis I'm going to have prior to Worlds. That being this weekend is the next tournament we go to. On the plus side, we are going in full family this time. Amber is playing in Regenesis. I am judging and getting a pack set. And Alexis, our daughter, Super Lex, is going to be playing in the tournament as well. That means we have a full complement of extra packs that we're going to work with, which means we should have, if anything, any of the figures that I want to use as a consideration or have as a consideration on my sideline for that event. So, yeah, it's looking good. On the plus side, as far as important ones that in my head I feel like need to be on the sideline, Beast is acquired. I think personally Iceman would be a super comfy one to have along with Phoenix. I gotta double check what my collection currently entails, but I do know that Iceman seems like a really cool call-in option, especially when you consider that the 3-point student ID is usable with him. As well, I think the Angel in this set is super useful as well. Long story short, there's a lot of cool call-in stuff for Regenesis, and that sits on the sideline. And then this past week, we actually had the Star Trek The Next Generation set release, and that yields its own set of interesting things. Importantly, a lot of figures that really extend one keyword that's already strong. I don't even have to say its name, and I already know everybody knows what it's all about. That's right. I went Canadian on you for there a second, right? Oh, how are you now? But also extends one that was on the edge, on the cusp of greatness. So obviously cosmic because Star Trek is space themed, and they introduced a couple god level characters. Not necessarily god tier in Heroclix, but god level in design space, because when you're designing the Star Trek characters, you got humans, and then you got Klingons, and you got a couple androids, and then you have Q, omnipotence incarnate. Oddly enough, doesn't have anything that really reflects it other than mastermind and super senses and the inability to be outwitted, and all of it is workaroundable. So unfortunately, the state of the game has put Q as a character in design space in a really weird spot. That's neither here nor there. When we talk about acquirement, we talk about it in a number of ways. One of which is, do I have it? And the other one is, can I get it? And there's a lot of factors in the can I get it space. Specifically, can I afford it? When can I afford it? And when will it arrive when I can afford it? These are all important questions. Now, barring that, of course, it's also, can I borrow it? Is also under the options. Now, because I'm crossing borders, I never feel comfortable traveling with somebody else's Heroclix. So if I'm going to borrow something, I'm going to make sure whoever is going as well. That way, we're both in the same room. You handed it to me, and I handed it back to you at the end of the day. That is donezo. Okay, so we got all that out of the way. That said, what I wanted to focus on is talking about what I acquired for Star Trek. And that list is quite plentiful, but not plentiful at the same time. Long story short, we purchased a case after a lot of complications in our lives, but we managed to get it yesterday. Thanks, Heroclix Stan. Love you, buddy. And as a result, we were able to open it up, and we, out of the entire set, we are currently missing the super rare Captain Picard, the super rare Prime Q, Lursa in the rare slot, the rare Wesley Crusher, and the Chase Mirror Commander Riker. I believe is everything that we are missing at this point. Let me just do a quick check through all the super rares to be sure. I know those two rares for sure I am missing. But yeah, we ended up with everything else. So then comes, and of course, at some point I'm going to acquire the Fast Forces, I think, maybe, if I do decide that Thomas Riker is a direction I want to go. When I finally saw what Thomas Riker did in person, I got my cold read on it this week, I realized why he needed an errata. Lordy, did he ever need an errata. Yeah, so that said, what things am I deeply considering? I start with the cosmic keyword because if I'm going to be playing my butt off, I should kind of follow suit and see what's strong. Avengers was strong and was varied, but unfortunately, Avengers is still possible to win with it, I think. But the team you want to win with it is not as obvious as Hawkeye was, if that makes any matter of sense. So the tools still exist for Avengers to win, I think. But they're less obvious at what they do than play a bunch of giant girls, fill up your starting area, not enough starting area left anymore, Hawkeye's a little bit more forward, Hawkeye blasts everybody. That one was its own anomaly. But that said, the Avengers have the ability to crank up the theme team or the theme team role, which is of course the named theme team. They have a lot of characters now with the injection of the AIM guys that have a lot of the really good support powers. So like, as an example, the AIM White has both Perplex and Outwit in an Avengers theme team. The AIM Blue Squad gives the White Squad support extra range, gives the Red Squad, who will now have both Enhancement and Empower, a range on that. He has leadership traded and also starts with Prob, as you can imagine. And I think there's other things attached to that. This is not an important topic for today. But anyway, so the Avengers team is there, and I do believe Star Fox is a part of it, and Jason Keem's team that I played against in Canadian Nationals, I think is very close to a very potent and potential, or high potential team. Cosmic, we've obviously seen kind of dominate lately, and it's hard not to notice because it's doing it. Obviously, it won Devin the championship, It won. No, it got top 2 in the U.S. Nationals. Lost to a Hawkeye. Bye-bye. But that is a pre-rotation Cosmic theme team. Cosmic as a keyword has been dominant in the competitive metagame for, I'm going to say, ever since Unimind started showing up with a puppy dog. And we have to accept that. That aside, I think the Star Trek set added a fair bit to Cosmic, but as Tom and I made observation of on Monday, added a ton to Scientist. Because in design space of Star Trek, everybody here is an explorer / soldier / scientist. A lot of characters fall under the scientist keyword for sure. One of which has really kind of caught my eye, and I don't know if there's necessarily a team that's obvious with them, but it's Lieutenant Commander Data. Now, you look at this one, and you go, Jason, this common dude, what are you going to do with him? I'm not going to do anything with him until I need to do anything with him. He sits on my sideline. I want to use the super rare on a team, but we have to double check. You'll see as well, this one doesn't start with the scientist keyword. This is the super rare, dressed as Sherlock Holmes. He's a shifting focus character, so this one doesn't have to start on the board to maintain our scientist keyword. And it doesn't mess it up when we switch him in as well. So swap him in, boom, done. We'll talk about the other one when my opponent gets too close to me. We're talking about a 50-point character. So he's able to do what he does in addition to that close combat dial that we saw earlier. Our adversary is none other than Professor Moriarty himself. When an opposing character within 6 squares would use that word to perplex or prob, you and that opponent each roll 2d6, and you add Lieutenant Commander Data's deduction tokens if your result is higher. Instead, the opposing character can't use the power this turn, and Lieutenant Commander Data gets a deduction token. So he could potentially make it harder and harder and harder for your opponent to use those powers to almost a point at some point, if they keep trying, where they just won't be able to use it. And it'll be all of those powers accumulating this. So if there's any character within 6 squares that would use, and no line of fire is not required for this. So you're within 6 squares, you use Outwit, let's roll off. Okay, did you use Perplex as well? Okay, we're going to roll off now. You used Prob on that roll? Well, let's roll off for that first. Or after the is this after resolutions? Oh no, it's whenever they would use that power, and then eventually you'll cancel it out. If you win any of these, the next one that they try to use is going to be harder to use. Because one of the things you got to realize is a lot of these powers, they say you have to win the roll, which means your opponent actually has a slight advantage, where you're kind of looking and going, I have 50-50, well, you're wrong. Because if your opponent ties you, tie goes to the opponent. So be aware of that sort of situation. But we're talking about a dude with sidestep and stealth outside of that. And probability control, which is the final word. This one, Elementary, My Dear Geordie. Probability control, when Lieutenant Commander Data uses it, the result can't be further rerolled. Which means, sometimes you get into those probability control rolls. I prob. Well, if I prob a Commander Data, you're done. Like, hit or miss. This is it. This is where this dice off ends. And that is important in controlling the narrative of the dice. The narrative of the dice, I just made that up right now. Because controlling the narrative is, one of those things that people talk about in media and whatnot. But where Commander Data is he's going to control the story of the dice in his way. And control of the dice is important in this manner for a number of reasons. One of which is you're not going to re-roll dice if they're not on your side. That's just how that's going to go, right? So it's a 55% chance for me to hit a 7 or higher. If I have probability control, that number goes up a little bit. Like, it goes up to 60-70% from there, because I'm not going to force a reroll if I do hit a 7 or higher, but if I don't, I'm going to give myself another chance, right? So Data here is going to say, all right, I have missed. My opponent has probability control, but I am now increasing my odds of hitting by saying this is going to be the one that rolls, and however it goes stays. Now, ultimately, you can still miss. That we have to get out of the way. You can still miss, and your opponent can still hit when you use his probability control. But they will not be able to change it beyond there. With the exception of another character we're going to talk about in a bit. Okay? So, Data controls the probability control a lot harder than everybody else. And I think that is a very cool effect for him to have. And I like that it does specify can't be further rerolled, because we do have somebody who does reroll attacks in a manner that is not probability control in Baron Mordo, who I almost played. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so let's talk about the dude that can manipulate the dice beyond Commander Data. And that is the Qs. There's two of them. There's super rare Q, who's dressed like a big colonial soldier. He's 300, 225, 125, or 50 points. Now, a couple cool things about this. One, if you pay more than the 50 with this Q, you get some tokens. The tokens are okay. They're Psychic Blast. They're autonomous. But they can't be pushed to death because you can't push them. Personally, your opponent can incapacitate them and whatnot, but you can't personally be the one that says, I'm going to kill this guy. Okay. So Q here has the special defense power. I'm not going to name the name. I've been watching Star Trek, so it's kind of nice to hear him say these phrases in the episode he was in. But it gives him Mastermind, it gives him Super Senses, and the ability to kind of really mess with an opponent if they miss, which he gives quite a few options on. Let's break it down. He's got the Mastermind. That's not going to turn into a miss, but that's going to turn into not hitting him. He has... this guy also comes with Cosmic Deity and past keywords. I also want to point out Deity is another one that adds the Q and almost becomes relevant. I think almost becomes relevant. There's a few deities out there that are just really good. And past gets a little bit of a bump. Past has always been kind of in and out as a keyword. Anyway, I'm off topic. So the Super Sense can turn into a miss, but then he's also got the at the beginning of your turn, if there's no d6 on this card, roll d6 and place it on this card. When a character within range rolls an attack roll or rolls for Super Senses, you may remove the d6 from this card and replace the die in the roll with it. So as a result, you're able to manipulate your opponent's dice with Q. Now, in concert with, say, Data, who will be the last one that says re-roll, those other dice aren't re-rolling when you're replacing them. So, gnarly, right? As well, Q adds triple target incapacitate. Effectively, the ability to change the result of a Super Sense in general, not just for himself, but for an opponent. Probability control, shape change on an 8 range character with 10 movement with phasing. Like, for 50 points, it's a hefty investment, but you get all of that in the package. He can be dealt with, but does force some reaching in order to deal with him. So, don't get down on this guy just because of all of that. Like, just because your opponent... If your opponent Trader Kobix all the way across for the 50 points, please be in a position that they get punished for that. Please. Then we move to the Prime Q, who's less of an investment and points, and as a result, more appealing. He's also 8 range with triple target. He's playable at 175 or 30 points. If you play him at 175, tell me how that works. He does do a lot more damage and consistent damage than the other Q. He's equally difficult to hit and also able to make really good hits. And, of course, has that Q reroll. So let's break this all down. Let's play a little game as a trait that gives you the ability to roll dice at the beginning of your turn if you don't have a die on the card. And then you can use that die to replace rolls as you need. The ability to replace rolls is gross. Deal with it. He's got special attack power. You may find that you're not nearly as clever enough to deal with what lies ahead of you. When Q attacks, roll a d6. If the attack is not a critical... This is only on the 175 point dial, by the way. If the attack is not a critical miss, and either die of the attack roll is that resulting number, all targets become hit, and the damage dealt is penetrating. So as long as you don't roll a critical miss, and let's say the first die is a 4, and I roll a 5 with a 4 and a 1. Well, guess what? I hit. And that's you look at your opponent going, but how? And you hit with a 4 damage. Okay, cool. Now, there's a number of reasons that this takes what you're already, like, you can already hit on a natural ability to take a dice roll. What's more is you now take all the dice combinations that would be a miss in concert with the dice that you rolled in the first place and turn those into a hit. So if you let's say you rolled a 1 and now, you need a 7 to hit. Well, any 6s that are a 5 and a 1, any 5s that are a 4 and a 1, any 4s that are a 3 and a 1, any 2s that are or 3s that are a 2 and a 1, or 4s that are a 3, like anything with a 1 that isn't a critical miss actually becomes a hit now, taking those out of the pool of loss probability. And that's why, as 175 points, it becomes a little bit more appealing. Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's look at the defense power, because he does have that on the 30-point dial. Temper, mon capitaine. I'm merely trying to assist the pitiful species. Okay, I got carried away, and I wanted to cue it up for that one. That's just straight up super senses, but when he is attacked, you do the same thing that you did with the attacking roll, so you roll a d6, but if your opponent has that die show up, and it's not a critical hit, that's now a miss. And again, let's do the math on that. If you need a 7 to hit me, and I roll a 5, I've taken away 5 and 2 as a hit. I've taken away 5 and 3 as a hit. I've taken away 5 and 6 as a... I've taken it away at 11 as a hit. This is the Riddler conundrum all over again. Where it's like but the Riddler, you had more agency over that, right? This one is a die roll, but you are still peeling out of the pool of possibility the results that would be a hit against your Q, and that's why the 30 point starts to look a little bit better, right? And of course, across the board, the 175.1, there's something to this dude. I want to see him not get hit for an entire game, and just chuckle about it. Then he's got the special damage power, which is just a flat-out probability control. So as if he doesn't have enough dice manipulation, this 30-point character has probability control, and when an opposing character that attacked Q or damaged a friendly character since your last turn, you can place Q within 6 squares and line of fire of that character, giving you the probability control you most likely need in this particular situation. And that is why the Prime Q is a big talked about figure. It's like for 30 points, like you cover the rest of that dial, and you go, okay, what is this one click going to give me? The one click is going to give you one of the more frustrating guys to actually make an attack against. He's not outwittable because he's got the Q team ability. He's also got willpower as a result of the Q team ability, meaning he can move a lot on his own accord. He's got dice manipulation in 2 different ways, so a little like a step up better than Mr. Mxyzptlk in that matter. And again, falls to the same trap that the 50-point Q has, where if they Kobik and Trader you kind of have to deal with that. And again, if they're committing Kobik Trader to 30 points, punish them, please. Punishment, please. Yeah, so the Qs take an already dominating cosmic keyword and just give it a little bit more tool, or open up more cosmic variation. Cosmic as a keyword is already pretty strong. Both these also have deity too, so don't get past that. But the cosmic already had a little bit of variation. This is, I think, expands on that variation. It gives you more options of what you could do with it. So now that I've gone at length, let's talk about a couple other dudes that that pack that cosmic keyword. Excuse me for the yawning. All right, let's look at Ensign Crusher. For 50 points, you get Perplex, Mid-Dial Enhancement, 2 Stop Clicks, a special attack power that says whenever a friendly character that's adjacent or has a Starfleet keyword rolls, adjacency is going to be the key if you're focusing on a cosmic keyword. Also, this Ensign Crusher only has the cosmic keyword if he's 50 points. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So if an adjacent character, in the case of using a cosmic theme team, rolls leadership, shape change, super senses, or impervious, they can re-roll. That's once per turn. So do pay attention if you're doing something silly like a leadership. Actually, leadership's on your turn. The other ones are on your opponent's turn. You're fine. Ignore me. These get the special defense power, gives them stop and willpower, and gives Wesley as a character protected outwit, but he can't be healed. All right, whatever. Cosmic doesn't do that much anyway. But then on that late tile, he's got prob and outwit. Prob is the key because outwit is cute, but not really there. Okay, so that adds to our. Now this guy adds to both cosmic and the other keyword we're going to talk about in a little bit is scientist. And he's playable at 25 points on the scientist team as some slightly cheap perplex, but also in the ability to re-roll a lot of rollouts. So, important to consider. Beyond that, I think we're kind of comfy with the cosmic. Oh, there is cosmic William T. Riker. I think if you're using him, you should be using Kobik. But if you don't have Kobik, you could use him. It's just like everything that the 100-point version of this guy does. I feel like 115 points for Kobik with a Cosmic Cube does the same, if not one extra click of better. And even a 100-point Kobik, before you even include, I think is just significantly better than William T. Riker in the competitive game. But then we move to the scientist keyword. And there's a couple highlights that I've been looking at personally as a player in consideration of bringing back scientists as a keyword. Step one is somebody has got to take all my Stegrons away. All right, but I do want to draw attention to Lieutenant Commander Geordi LaForge. He's 5 range, 40 points, Starfleet, and scientist keyword. Ignores hindering for line of fire. Could come up. Might come up. Not important. He's got a special attack power. We're going to just have to time this just right. Free. Choose a friendly character that's adjacent or has a Starfleet keyword. More likely to be adjacent than Starfleet. And roll a d6. When the chosen character attacks this turn, modify its damage +1 for each die in its attack roll. That's the resulting number. So unlike Q, he's not increasing his own attack ability to attack, but he is increasing a fellow character's ability to hit. And where this will come into play, he's impacting the depth of hitting. He does affect how easy it is to hit. Just give me a second. I'm talking about the power in its own self. You roll the d6. If you happen to roll a 4, cool. We'll put the 4 aside now. I'm going to roll a 2 dice to attack with. Let's say I get a 4 and a 3. That's a 7. Let's say I made that a hit. All right, awesome. So now I'm actually going to take whoever Geordi LaForge is pumping and increase the damage by 1. Yeah, that just happened. Now, if I happen to do it by rolling a 4, and I roll double 4s with an 8 and manage to hit, I'm now increasing the damage by 2 because it's for each die. Now, if you could find a way to build a team that includes Geordi and Q, you can pull some nasty shenanigans. But you are going to be giving up theme. That aside, he's got a special damage power in his first 2 clicks. Wait a second. Here we go, Captain. Try it now. Probability control. When he uses it to reroll the attack roll of an adjacent friendly character, he may choose to reroll only 1 die. This is not a requirement. You can reroll both dice, but Let's say you needed an 8 and you got a 6 and a 1. You missed by 1. Jordy can say, I'm going to prob that. But I'm only probbing that die, the 1. And then you can turn that into more than likely you hit. It's a 1 in 6 chance to miss instead of in that note. And it's like a 5 in 6 chance to hit when you make that adjustment. Granted, can't be combined with data, but adds the scientist theme. He's only 40 points. 40-point prob has never been bad. And, the ability to possibly increase damage goes a long way. So, I think it fits. Who else do we... I mean, Wesley Crusher, we already talked about one of them, but there is a rare one, and I'm clicking on the wrong thing here. This is one of the ones I have yet to acquire. We'll see if I can pull off acquiring it. This is the unique Wesley Crusher. He's 15 points. He's Starfleet and Scientist. He's got Perplex, but only to target friendly characters. When he uses Perplex after resolutions on roll d6, on a 1 or 2, deal Wesley Crusher 1 unavoidable damage. On a 6, remove an action token from the target. So now he's got that for 2 clicks. It's pretty potent when you consider it's 15 points of 3 clicks of Perplex. And, I mean, he's going to take the damage. You're not going to affect the character that you're dealing with. But there's a 1 in 6 chance that they're going to clear an action token too. This could lead to some massive Hail Mary strikes that people will not see coming. Like, you got Wesley Crusher and a dude left. Wesley still has his power up. And you look at it and go, well, my guy is double tokened. But if Wesley Crusher can roll a 6 on his Perplex, I could very well steal the game. That is, I think, the potential. That, much like the Hulk with the squid on his head, that 6 is so game-changing that it cannot be ignored, I don't think. So, so those are the ones that have been really getting my personal brain juices going. Thomas Riker falls under the brain juices going, but I'm probably going to have to acquire a Fast Forces if I'm going to do that. Reginald Barclay is in consideration on the Scientist keyword team. Who else here? Beverly Crusher falls under consideration as well. Super good at healing, possibly able to affect, robots if that becomes a thing. It's becoming a thing. Or, the fact that she's almost untouchable in her healingness. Whatever. Excuse me. Yeah, those are the major ones that have really got this going for me. And it's not to say that, like, I'm ignoring the rest of the set. Other things could come up. Those Starfleet ensigns, who knows? Maybe I do need a 20-point TK or Perplexer or whatever. Then I'm not playing a theme team, or I happen to come up with some ridiculous Starfleet team, including some of the original series figures. Don't forget those exist. There's a number of things that are up for consideration that need to be considered when looking to my team. But after this weekend, we're going to have I'm going to probably have full inventory of what I have available to build with, plus or minus some things that I am purchasing along the way. There is a pending issue with some figures that I need to get my hands on for traveling. Whatever. Anyway, Star Trek does add to the brain pool, the brain trust, the general pool of things, and I think Scientist and Cosmic are topping my list. The unfortunate part is if I decide to go Cosmic, I definitely lean to the side of the Prime queue, which means I need to bite the bullet or find somebody local who's got some loose packs. Because, and this is just kind of my story, this area is officially devoid of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Get them while you can, guys. I know our local distributors are all out. And you guys are going to want to get your hands on as much as you can get your hands on if you're planning on getting it. Do not dilly-dally. Do not stop. If you've got a local store that's got lots, get lots. Because I don't think people or decision makers understood when I said the original series isn't going to sell well, Next Generation is going to sell well. I wasn't kidding. And they made the mistake of doing this. Whenever you see a countertop display set, a lot of stores start to get a little bit sketchy about how much they're going to buy. It's like, oh, these things never sell. I just don't buy a case or two, and then, you know, they have, all of a sudden they're all out of them. It's like, oh, wow, great. And then the next set turns out to be crap, and then they don't buy enough of it. It's like, oh, it's an endless cycle of inconsistency in the single booster packs that really needs to be addressed at some point. That's my little rant. That aside, let's do a little bit of upkeep. If you're part of the Discord, we're going to get back to the flow of introducing the live link again. Just been a little bit rough and tumble for the past week or so. Not being prepped for it, ready for it, all that kind of stuff. So that will be back to available starting next week. As well, we've also, on our Discord, opened up an announcement channel where we're just going to post whenever we post a video link in that channel from here on in. So, like previous videos you're not going to see the links for. From here on in, if you want, as a link is going live, we'll put it in that Discord. Monday is a holiday in our province, at least, or where we are in Canada. As a result, there will not be a Metal Lab on Monday. But the next week thereafter, we should see a return to the Metal Lab, as some of the cast will be coming off their sabbaticals. As well, we do have... So we got the Metal Lab, we got that. We will have some more Move and Attack content coming up for you soon. Hopefully this weekend we can get some of that to kind of fill the void that the Metal Lab is going to leave behind on Monday. That said, thank you guys for stepping into the mind with me. I hope it's not too messy, and I hope it's not too dark in there, because I swear I tried to turn a light on today. In the meantime, I'll see you guys soon. Probably going to do this every week now leading up to Memphis, because holy smokes, it's August already, and there's like if we actually do the math here, there's there's 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 35 days until I travel for Memphis. And then I'll be walking in Memphis. So keep your eyes peeled to the channel. We're going to try to do this every Thursday. Marriott Lab is going to be on hiatus for a little bit until we can get some regular scheduling out of that as well. It's a temporary hiatus. We just want to figure out what we're going to do with that, with Amber kind of stepping away from the constructed competitive game and moving more into sealed solely. So we're gonna see where the channel lies after that, and go from there. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being in here, and I'll see you guys next week as we step into the Mind of Madness.